Finesse2Tymes has crossed a serious line more than once, and right now, Memphis is clearly paying attention. His recent moves didn't slide under the radar, and people across the city are quietly talking about how tense things feel at the moment. What's unfolding between him and Moneybagg Yo looks like it goes far beyond music debates or typical industry back and forth. These two weren't just collaborators at one point, they really came up together, back when the spotlight wasn't on them at all. Now, though, Finesse has aimed lyrical jabs that involve Moneybag's partner, Ari, and in Memphis culture, that type of personal reference can quickly shift the energy. Situations like that tend to escalate, not cool off. What led to this fallout is far more complex than most people realize, and that's what we're about to unpack. From bread gang business dealings to questions around loyalty, from long-standing tensions connected to Young Dolph to personal misunderstandings, this situation feels unstable. Every detail matters, especially before things drift any further out of control. Let's be honest for a moment. Online chatter has been non-stop about Finesse and Moneybagg trading indirect shots, but the majority of people don't actually understand the history behind their split. Everyone sees the surface-level exchanges, yet almost nobody talks about the early grind, the late studio sessions, or how solid their relationship once was before cracks started showing. So let's slow things down, clear the noise, and separate what's confirmed from what's exaggerated. Around 2012 to 2013 is when Finesse's journey really began to take shape. Back then, Finesse2Tymes, Moneybagg Yo, Black Youngsta, and several other Memphis artists were moving together as part of a group known as MGU, Memphis Grinders Underrated. This wasn't just about chasing attention or trends. These were young artists pushing a shared vision, hopping from club to club, promoting their records, and trying to build something from nothing. This was long before fame, real money, or public tension entered the picture. They were burning CDs, hand-delivering music to stores like Walmart, and building from the ground up. But even during those early days, differences were already there. Finesse has openly said that Moneybagg was always the more cautious one in the circle. That detail becomes important later. When the crew was outside promoting or dealing with street-related situations, Moneybagg often preferred to step away early and avoid unnecessary risk. To be clear, that mindset isn't wrong. Everyone approaches life differently. Still, in Memphis street culture, those differences don't just fade away. Over time, they pile up and can quietly create tension.
Y'all go to Moneybagg Yo's side of town while having a diss song out about Moneybagg Yo.
Yeah.
But whole time, allegedly, right, y'all were set up to come during this time.
Right.
And y'all know how dangerous it was.
Then everything changed. Finesse ended up incarcerated. While he was locked up, Moneybagg Yo and Black Youngsta both started gaining real traction. Youngsta landed a deal. Moneybagg did the same. The city watched their rise unfold, while Finesse was forced to sit back and observe from the inside. Anyone in that position would feel conflicted, watching former peers level up without them. What often gets overlooked, though, is that when Finesse came home, he wasn't starting from zero. His GRA track was already pushing past 100,000 views, and other songs were gaining attention on SoundCloud. He still had momentum. Moneybagg reached out and brought him into Bread Gang, his label imprint under Yo Gotti's CMG umbrella. At the time, it looked like a genuine show of unity, one friend helping another re-establish himself. But that move would later carry much more weight than anyone expected. On the surface, CMG and Bread Gang appeared solid, like loyalty in action. But according to Finesse, the situation was far more complicated. He said he joined Bread Gang mainly to show unity and strength for the city. Loyalty matters deeply to him, and at that moment, he believed it was the right decision. What he didn't realize was that the situation would slowly begin to limit him instead of freeing him. According to statements made later by people close to him, including his brother, No Love, Finesse felt his talent was being leaned on heavily. When creative blocks hit in the studio, Moneybagg would reportedly call Finesse in to bring energy or help complete records. Finesse says he gave everything, believing it was mutual support. Looking back, he admits it eventually felt less like brotherhood and more like being valued mainly for his contributions. But the tension didn't stop at music or contracts. The biggest fracture came from the Young Dolph situation, something deeply rooted in Memphis dynamics that outsiders often misunderstand. At the time, Moneybagg Yo and Young Dolph already had well-known issues. That conflict was public and documented. Finesse, however, had his own history with Dolph that predated the industry drama, according to his brother. Things escalated when Dolph made comments about MGU and the crew, allegedly using disrespectful language. When Finesse heard about it, he went live and defended his people, even saying he would confront Dolph if necessary. From Finesse's perspective, that was loyalty, standing up for his circle despite not having personal issues with Dolph. Here's where expectations clashed. Moneybagg didn't see it as support. Instead, he was upset that Finesse addressed it publicly at all. Around the same time, Moneybagg had secured a feature with Dolph on I Need a Plug, a record that significantly boosted his career. From that point forward, his success accelerated.
From Finesse's side, it felt like he had put himself at risk defending someone who was quietly handling business with the same person behind the scenes. That disconnect hit hard. Eventually, they sat down to talk it out with respected figures from North Memphis present. According to No Love, Finesse stood by what he said, explaining that his response came from defending the crew. Moneybagg, however, felt the situation threatened business opportunities. That conversation changed everything. For Finesse, that moment made it clear that business priorities were outweighing personal bonds. Once that realization set in, the relationship never fully recovered. The Bread Gang contract situation only added more strain. Finesse has spoken about this publicly, expressing ongoing frustration. He said he felt locked into a deal that didn't benefit his growth. He expected promotion, investment, and guidance, but instead felt his momentum slowing. Over time, that resentment built. Then came what he describes as the most disappointing moment, learning that the contract was essentially over without a proper discussion. No formal sit-down, no clear explanation. After investing time, loyalty, and creative energy, that ending felt deeply disrespectful to him. He's even said he wished they could have continued working together, believing their collaboration meant something special for Memphis. What hurt most, though, was the feeling that Moneybagg still viewed him through the lens of his past. Finesse has openly acknowledged his mistakes and admitted that his mindset cost him relationships, including this one. He said he was still learning the industry and that his street instincts didn't always align with business decisions. The most talked about moment came when Finesse claimed Moneybagg no longer wanted to deal with him out of fear, suggesting unresolved trauma from their past. That statement reflects Finesse's perspective, not a confirmed fact. Still, it highlights how damaged the trust had become. Once that trust was broken, rebuilding it proved nearly impossible. After the contract fallout, the situation didn't stay private. It spilled into the public eye, quickly becoming messy and uncomfortable for everyone involved. It all started when Moneybagg Yo unfollowed Finesse2Tymes on Instagram. To most people, that might look like a minor move, but when you're a public figure with hundreds of thousands of eyes watching every step, an unfollow carries weight. In today's social media culture, actions like that are often read as a message, and from Finesse's perspective, he clearly took it as disrespect. Finesse didn't stay quiet about it. He went live and spoke directly on the situation, accusing Moneybagg of being emotional and throwing subtle posts his way instead of addressing things openly. During that moment, Finesse emphasized his background, saying he's always stood on his own and never relied on anyone else to handle issues for him. He made it clear that if there was tension, he wasn't avoiding it and wasn't hiding behind anyone. As the fallout continued, Finesse shared more personal details than many people expected. He talked about studio sessions where, according to him, Moneybagg would sometimes struggle to finish ideas, and Finesse felt like he stepped in to help push songs forward. From Finesse's point of view, he believed he was doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, while Moneybagg played things more cautiously. He even went as far as questioning Moneybagg's authenticity, which, in Memphis, is widely viewed as a serious form of disrespect, especially when someone's image is closely tied to that reputation. These were Finesse's claims and feelings, not verified facts, but they definitely caught attention. At the same time, Finesse also showed moments of reflection. Mid-rant, he would pause himself, acknowledge that emotions were running high, and say he was trying to grow, represent the culture better, and show love to the city. He admitted that because of his name and image, people often assume negative intentions. Still, he said his real focus was building something real and lasting, not tearing anyone down. The tension played out mostly through indirect posts and subliminal messages online. It stayed in that familiar rap competition lane, heated, uncomfortable, but still within the boundaries of industry beef. That is, until things took a different turn. This is where many people feel the situation shifted. Finesse previewed a new song that appeared to include direct remarks about Moneybagg Yo's girlfriend, Ari. That move immediately changed how the conflict was viewed. In Memphis culture, involving someone's partner is widely seen as crossing a serious line. It's often interpreted as going beyond music and into personal territory, which is why it made so many people uneasy. At that point, the conversation stopped feeling like a typical rap dispute for many observers. Online discussions picked up, and the general sentiment was that things may have gone too far. Critiquing someone's music, success, or public image is usually considered part of the genre, but once family or relationships are mentioned, the situation can quickly shift from internet talk to real-world tension. It's also important to acknowledge that Ari is a public figure with her own platform and career. Pulling her into a dispute she wasn't directly part of places her in an uncomfortable position and adds pressure on Moneybagg to respond, especially in a culture where public perception carries weight. For longtime Memphis observers, this sequence of events feels uncomfortably familiar. Many past conflicts in the city have followed a similar pattern, starting with music, escalating into personal issues, and sometimes ending badly. That history is why people are watching closely now. Finesse has spoken openly about his personal growth through all of this, and that part matters. He's admitted that he handled certain moments poorly, and that his mindset sometimes got in the way of bigger opportunities. He's even acknowledged that Moneybagg tried to guide him at times, encouraging him to think long-term and move more strategically. At the time, though, Finesse says he wasn't ready to receive that advice. That level of honesty didn't come easily. Still, Finesse also feels deeply hurt. From his perspective, he believes he showed loyalty and commitment to someone who ultimately viewed him more as an asset than his family. He feels like he took public risks and stood tall in moments where Moneybagg chose to operate quietly behind the scenes. Looking back, Finesse now feels that he lost valuable time that could have gone toward building his own independent path. On the other hand, it's only fair to consider Moneybagg's side as well. From his position, the situation may look very different. He's built a major brand, secured large deals, and positioned himself as one of the most successful artists in the game today. With that level of success, stability matters. He can't afford unpredictable situations or controversy spilling into business spaces. There's simply too much at stake. However, by distancing himself so publicly, unfollowing Finesse, and stepping away from the music, Moneybagg didn't just end a working relationship, he created tension with someone who still believed there was brotherhood there. And now that tension feels more serious because that former ally appears willing to cross boundaries most people avoid. This no longer feels like just rap back and forth. It's two men with shared history, pride, and strong ties to Memphis. In a city where issues don't always stay online, even one record aimed the wrong way can change everything quickly. The culture has seen this story play out before, and it rarely ends cleanly. Too much talent has been lost to conflicts that started with music and escalated beyond control. What adds another layer is that both sides have people around them who are loyal and ready to stand behind them. In Memphis, reputation matters deeply, and once it's challenged, pressure builds fast. Some observers feel Finesse appears to be at a point where he has little left to protect.
He's faced setbacks, lost major opportunities, and been counted out by many. That position can make someone act unpredictably, which adds risk. Meanwhile, Moneybagg has a career, family, and legacy to protect, and that pressure can also force big responses when pride feels threatened. That's why this feels like a situation where nobody truly wins if it keeps escalating. This isn't just about lyrics anymore. It's about loyalty versus business, street codes clashing with industry strategy, and personal pride turning former allies into rivals. At its core, it highlights how quickly conflict can grow when disrespect isn't checked early. The question now is simple but heavy. Will cooler heads step in and slow things down before it reaches a point no one can undo? Or will Memphis once again watch talent get caught in a situation that never needed to go this far? Show love by hitting like, share this with anyone following the situation, and most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments. When do you think our culture will shift from fueling conflict to valuing growth and accountability? Did finesse cross a line? Could this all have been handled differently?